We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against, number 1, principalities. Number 2, powers. Number 3, rulers of the darkness of this world. Remember what we just read out of Genesis chapter 1. On day 4, the 4 things there, and they were to be rulers of darkness. Rulers of the darkness of this world and spiritual wickedness. Remember Sodom, where? In high places, in the spiritual realm, where there is earthly wickedness and there is spiritual wickedness. Far, far more wicked than earthly people can do. Okay? Because earthly people can be saved and redeemed. Angels and principalities and powers cannot. They do not have redemption offered to them. Now, so I want you to think about that when we think of the zodiac divided into 4 groups of 3. They're divided into 4 groups, and they correspond to the summer, spring, let me get this right, spring, summer, fall, and winter. That's what they correspond to. Remember the teaching that we did here a while back where I showed you the sun's progression in the equinoxes, or the 2 zodiac signs of Capricorn and Cancer. The sun rising and setting in a yearly cycle, exactly 46 degrees. That's the number for the temple of the human body. The 46th book of this Bible is 1 Corinthians, where it tells us that our body is the temple of the Holy Ghost. So you kind of understand now the dark conspiracy that is going on with these people. Here is the signs of the zodiac. They're circling around the earth as watchers, or the gods that are trying to determine the fate of mankind. So we look in Daniel chapter 2, and we understand a little bit more then about the secret that Nebuchadnezzar dreamed about, that Daniel revealed in Daniel chapter 2. And he said, here it is, the 4th kingdom shall be strong as iron. I'm going to stop right here, okay? Study what astronomers, not astrologers, astronomers, the scientists who study the stars, understand what they know about these big gigantic balls of hydrogen or whatever gas inside of there. Is that even in our own sun, which is a star, inside of the core of these stars, there's this massive nuclear furnace going on. Okay? A furnace is an alchemical sign, by the way. And what it's doing inside of these gigantic star furnaces is that it's converting the elements inside of there to iron. And when you hear about a star that collapsed on itself, it fell. Okay, it fell in on itself. The reason being was that this star had converted so much of itself into iron. Iron's very heavy. That literally its own gravitation pulled itself in, and it collapsed, and its light went out. Think about that. That's why he's referring to this as the Iron Kingdom. The 4th kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things. That is a dominion idea. And as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. Now he's going to explain what that all is all about. In verse 42, and he said, as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they, the 4th kingdom, the principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, spiritual wickedness in high places, the zodiac signs, one of which is named Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is the emblem of a man that has been fused in with a beast. Where do you find out what the word zodiac means? They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And so the emblem here, what God's telling us, what God is revealing in this gigantic secret here, is that this 4th kingdom, principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, spiritual wickedness, these evil angels, The New Age says that they're going to come down to the earth. Now, God said in Revelation 12, that's not how it happens. They're cast down. I threw them out. Remember when God told Joshua to go into the land, He said, get these people out of here. Get them out. They're not to be in my kingdom. This is exactly an earthly picture of a heavenly idea. God's kicking them out. So they're not floating down the earth. They're falling to the earth. I want you to think of stars falling. Wait till you see where I'm going with this. Okay? So anyway, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. The seed of men is man's DNA. Now, here's the really interesting part. The news came on one morning. I got up. I'm trying to wipe the sleep out of my eyes, and they said, oh, 13th sign of the Zodiac. I'm going, okay, 13. And they said, it's Ophiuchus. Oh, Ophiuchus. And then they showed the emblem, the sign of Ophiuchus, Serpentarius, the serpent bringer. Let me show you his sign. It's the caduceus. And there's a lot of signs here. Notice the astrological, zodiological signs there. Notice we have the horns of a bull. Think about that. And we have the wings. That's the emblem of Osiris, the sun god. And we have the pentagram, Satan's 5-point plan, Revelation chapter 9, the 5th trumpet sounding. And we have an emblem of the cross with the rose on it. That's the Rosicrucian. The rose is the emblem of the female, the cross, the male, and they're fused together. That's the sons of God, daughters of men. We have the Ankh symbol, which is another symbol of male and female fused together. We have a rod, like an arrow. Okay? We have a dart that goes straight up. It's a phallic symbol. It's a symbol of Osiris, or the Antichrist. And we have DNA twining around it like two serpents. That's the symbol of the serpent bringer. So this, when they say that the zodiac is being transformed, it represents the transformation of mankind. Now, as I said earlier, this has everything to do, this new sign being added and what it represents, this bringing the serpent. Now we're going to restore the old religion they talk about. Okay, remember in Star Wars it was about the old religion, which was the Jedi religion, okay? We're going to restore the old religion. When you hear in the church them talking about ancient practices or ancient ideas, or when you hear this idea of ancient future church, what they're doing is that they're digging up the old religion of Babylon and they're bringing it in through the serpent, who was more subtle than any creature or any beast. And so it has to do with the heavenly realm becoming in control of the earthly realm. The fallen angels and Lucifer itself and the Antichrist coming up out of his chamber, out of the sea. Think about that. Oh, I can't wait to get to this. You know I'm setting you up, okay? I'm trying to teach you this so when I show you the video clip, you'll go, oh, wow, okay? It makes sense. It really does. It's about a kingdom, okay? On this video that we talk about the fourth dimension, scientists think of the fourth dimension as like looking into a mirror. You're looking at your exact opposite. I don't know if you look in a mirror. When you raise your right hand in a mirror, actually the guy in the mirror, that's his left hand. Okay? So it's a mirror image of this world here. And this is interesting because Job described this when he was referring to the sky. In Job 37:18, he said, hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong and as a molten looking glass. You remember Alice. The guy who was writing about Alice, Lewis Carroll, was a British mathematician theorizing on the fourth dimension. And he said it's like going through the mirror to getting into the opposite world. Okay? Because when you look into a mirror, when you look at it, it looks like it has depth. When you look behind the mirror, there's no depth there. That's what they're describing here. So Job says that the entire sky is like a mirror image of what? Of what's going on here on this earth. Now, I'm going to give you the biblical end of it, and then we're going to show you the reverse of it. Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. After this manner, therefore pray ye. This is our brother, our friend Jesus Christ, teaching us how to pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. That is the hope of every born-again, Bible-believing Christian, is that one of these days, God's will, which is performed in heaven, will be performed in planet Earth. Not a bad prayer to pray. You want God's will in your marriage, in your life, in your family, in your church, in every realm of life. That's a wonderful prayer to pray. Okay? So here we have God's kingdom being inside the hearts of men. And He visualizes that to us. This is so neat. You got to see this, okay? This is why God described Israel in the following manner. Genesis chapter 22. That in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed. Notice this. As the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. I want you to think about that. Genesis 26, and I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all nations of the earth be blessed. You know what God was saying here? God was saying, look, I have a plan here. I have a plan. And it's through the faith of Abraham, through Jesus Christ, that I'm going to take my people, and I'm going to make them like the stars of heaven. They're the angels. They're the gods. Okay? God said, I will make man, who I made to be lower than the angels. I will exalt him. Jesus said in the resurrection, we shall be as the angels of heaven. Not the fallen ones, but we shall be as the angels of heaven. So thy kingdom come, thy will be done in the earth as it is in heaven. God taking lowly man of a low estate through the cross of Jesus Christ and raising him up to be immortals. That's God's plan. And I caught this years ago. I saw this and I went, God, I love you. Because remember, God created the possession of the stars in the heaven, divided up in sort of equal time periods of 12. When you look at the wilderness camp of Israel, this is how God told them to camp themselves. He said, put the tabernacle in the middle. And then I want you to surround the tabernacle with how many tribes? 3 on the north, 3 on the east, 3 on the south, and 3 on the west. Just like the signs, the seasons, the days, and the years. With everything that God does, there is an exact opposite in the devil's kingdom. That's what astrology is all about. So if you want to understand astrology, don't study astrology. Study the Bible, and you'll get it. You will understand. And God wants to make Israel, He says in Exodus chapter 37, the dry bones in the valley that once they're prophesied over twice, that's the first and second coming of Christ, and the Spirit comes in, the 4 winds of the gospel are breathed into them, then they are raised up the mighty army of Israel. We have a picture, again, of that, equating it with the stars in heaven and their procession. Remember Sisera? Remember the guy who, had the spike driven through his head and he was fastened to the ground? That in itself is a picture of the cross being fastened as a nail in a sure place upon where? The place of the skull. This is so beautiful, people. But remember Deborah, when they finally got that victory, Deborah sang a song in the book of Judges. And here's what she sang. They fought from heaven. The stars in their courses fought against Sisera. Now, that is a reference, I believe, to Revelation chapter 12 and the war that goes on in heaven, but also, I believe, God's people as well as the stars of heaven. We're fighting this battle right now. And by the way, because Christ died on the cross, we win. We win this battle. Now, I want to go back to this idea of the stars in their procession. Here is the circle of the Zodiac. I want you to notice that they're sort of encompassing there, that they are part of the constellations there. I mentioned earlier the verse in the King James Bible, thy will be done in the earth as it is in heaven. I mentioned also earlier about this concept of as above, so below. These evil angels want to rule over planet Earth and make it part of their kingdom. Okay?